Can you hear me? Pam, I can't hear you. Is your microphone turned off?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
I was testing my microphone first.
Yeah, you look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I have two background options because I wasn't sure how we were going to do the video. So I have my regular desktop computer where I normally sit and the walls behind me. And I have my laptop where I can just sit and there's less, in the background. It's just chair, small picture, so I wasn't sure.
I am going to post this video. So, I'll put it up on my website and on YouTube and probably on social media. So it's up to you.
Okay.
I'm using my home backdrop, so it's not, I need to go up higher. I'm gonna get one more book. I normally have two books. So go ahead, and if you want to flip locations. Yeah, because the lighting isn't, I thought it was going to be brighter down here today.
I'm flipping it now. It's bringing up now. I didn't want to lose you while you were talking to make sure we go together.
Yeah, we'll cut this first part off and start officially.
All right. Hold on.
Okay. Oh, it's the both speakers.
Yeah, so I'm shutting one down, turning off sound and all that stuff running in the background so we don't get alerts and all that fun stuff.
I did the same. I did the same. I had somebody tell me they love the dings on my podcast. They said, "Do you play those chimes for a reason?" And I said, "Oh, you mean like the email notification chimes?" And I didn't realize, but she said, "Oh, but they come through at such perfect times in the meditation." And I thought, "Oh, I need to turn off all my bells and whistles." Okay, look what's right next to my computer.
Yay!
I never finished the last bit. Me and my partner had ended up in the hospital, and we kind of lost our regularity. So,
Aww.
Okay, so we will find a space to start here as soon as I get onto my cushion, which is not centered. Try this again. Okay.
All right. Oh, I'm just checking every sound in this room to make sure phone is on.
Oh, that's a lovely setting. Look how beautiful. Okay.
So yeah, all sounds are off. Just in case. Close the door. In case the doorbell rings.
I know.
All right.
Okay. So
how is the distance good?
You look great. You look like well, this is what we originally were wanting it to be, like we were having a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's what I thought this background would be.
That looks like you're in your living room. I'm in mine. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and there we go. So let me just get one sip here. Oh. Okay.
I'm finishing my cough drop.
No worries. I'll start off with a little bit of an introduction and read your bio, so you've got a little bit of time. So I'm going to go ahead and starting. Welcome, everybody. It's Deborah LeeAnn, and it's time for another of our spotlights on who is doing some amazing things here in St. Louis. I've started calling this my Luminary Leadership series because these women are really at the helm of driving change. And today's guest is Pamela King. Welcome, Pamela.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to be with you in any time or space, but this is going to be fun. Let me start off by giving you guys a little bit of a background on Pam. And do you prefer Pam or Pamela?
Pam, please.
Okay. I would like to tell you a little bit about who she is, and then we'll dive in a little bit deeper during our time together. Pam, or Pamela C. King, as her official CV says, is the chapter leader of the local chapter of Our Community Listens. She is a servant leader who invests in people and is committed to transforming lives. She inspires leaders through transformational learning experiences that spark growth and ignite change. As Pam leads the St. Louis community, she's also establishing her chapter as the gateway to listening. God, I love that. Pam believes in giving her community a voice by teaching people how to listen through their communication skills training program. Her journey as a survivor led her to become an advocate for sexual assault and domestic violence survivors. In 2009, Pam founded DIVAS, DIVAS, Fellowship and Outreach Ministry, where survivors could connect for mutual support and learn life skills that assist them on their journeys to healing. During her 20-year Air Force career, she used her skills and experience as a master resilience trainer and strategic plans and program manager to strengthen communities around the world through leadership development, individual resilience, victim advocacy, and survivor support. In 2015, Pam was honored to receive the Air Force Materiel Command NAACP Roy Wilkins Renown Service Award. Oh, that gave me chills. Pam has a master's in education and innovation with emphasis in adult education and certification in online teaching and learning. She has a bachelor's in human resource management and holds an occupational instructor certification. In all of Pam's achievements, her family holds her heart. What a beautiful, beautiful, amazing life you had. And I can't wait to hear what's going to happen next for you. Tell me a little bit about, I want to start now and go back. I do want to focus on, because this particular interview will be featured in the Women's Journal during their holiday time. I want to talk about the gift of listening and why Our Community Listens helps to give us that gift so that we can give it to others.
The gift of listening is really our ability to connect with one another. It's not about the words. It's about being in tune and connected to another person, being able to hear what's on their heart without having to fix it or make it right or make it perfect. It's just about being present. And so listening is really about being able to see the world through another person's eyes and experiencing the world through their lenses and really being able to connect with what it is that they feel, what they hear, what they see, and really just being in tune to what it is that they really need, even if they can't articulate it with words.
Wow. So much is the nonverbals. I mean, how do you, I know there's a lot more of us that are finally listening between the words because of intuition and other things, but can you teach people this? Seriously?
It takes a couple of days. But yes, we can if we're willing. The first thing in order to change the way we behave is a willingness to do things differently. The recognition that what we're doing may not work as well as we want it to. And usually that happens when we get just a little feedback from someone we care about that says, you're not listening, you don't hear me, all you do is talk, I never get a word in, or I feel alone. And so in our class, we talk about what it feels like to feel alone through our own lenses, through our own experiences, and recognizing that the way we sometimes communicate through our behavior can create barriers to how we connect, sometimes with those least like us. And so through the class, we start off looking at our behavioral tendencies. We use the extended disc, which allows us to see how we communicate through our actions, not just our words. What is our body language? What are those things that what do we do when we're overwhelmed? How do we communicate with others when we're frustrated? Not just when we're happy. What messages are we sending to others? And what messages are they receiving from us? And so we look at ourselves, we look at the communication cycle by putting ourselves in it and reflecting. And then we look at reflective listening. Are we actually present in the spaces that we are in with another person? How do we turn off the voices and the to-do list and be fully present with what it is they're trying to share without probing, without data mining and asking them a million questions about what it is we want to know? How do we really just hear what it is they're trying to share? And then we finish up the course by talking about effective confrontation. And that is being able to go to another person with a request for change because you realize that what it is that you need from this person, you cannot do by yourself and you need their help. So how do we ask them for the help that we need in order to make the changes to make us all successful?
Yes. Man, there was a lot there I want to pick apart in an interest of time. But I also for when we do the written article to emphasize, I almost want to underline some of your words. So the extended disc, what I loved about that is it's not a personality profile, right?
Yep.
And I think that helps, especially when I read some of the things that my behaviors were saying about me. And I understand how people can read me wrong. And so that wasn't my intent necessarily, but it's how I'm showing up. And that is key. So I think people don't feel as personally attacked. They start realizing it's how my behavior is affecting others. The other thing I really want to talk about is, I want to say day 3 was one of my favorites, that the whole idea of it can be a conversation to request change. It doesn't have to be conflict. And I loved that whole thing. So those were outstanding parts. I mean, the whole course is outstanding, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's reading or listening to this interview because it's a life changer, truly. So do me a favor though, I already see that you have these skills, you have had these skills through your resilience and your victim advocacy roles and all of the places you've already done this. So how did you learn some of these things before going through a 3-day course and now running that chapter of the St. Louis chapter? I'm just curious, where did you get your skills?
I developed my skills over the course of a few years, being in the Air Force. They have several leadership courses and supervisory courses that they offer to help us grow as leaders, just even in our first few years in the Air Force. And so there's those courses where they teach us, team development and conflict resolution, which is a little different than what we discuss. We also look at how we communicate and a little bit about the public speaking and articulation. We talk about nonverbals and just really how to lead through listening and really through servant leadership. Through that experience, I was so profoundly impacted that I decided to be an instructor for that same course. And I did that for about almost 5 years. And through that, I really learned through the eyes of the students, through those young leaders, what the world looked like for them. It's one thing to see it through your experiences, but it's another thing when I've had over 1,200 or so students that I've interacted with to see the world through their many eyes, to see myself the way they see me, and to be willing to do it different, recognizing that it's not always about me. And so that's one, one way is I want to do it this way. But if I want to be effective, I have to do it the way I'm best received at times. And so there's that through victim advocacy, learning that although what I want for this survivor is justice, I want them to be heard, I want them to be believed. What I really need to do is find out what they need from me and be willing to meet their needs and be willing to be vulnerable and recognize it's not about my story. They don't have to know that I've been through a similar experience in order to connect with them with empathy. It's about recognizing that I can recall what this might feel like through my own experiences, and that gives me just enough pause to be quiet and hear from them what they need most. So there were some tools I had in my tool bucket before I began the OCL journey, but I will say that this actually helped heal some gaps where I thought I was really good. And I learned that good can still be great. There's always another level of learning that can happen if we're willing to go first and enter into that realm of learning ourselves.
Yes. So there's some sticky points here that I would like to dive into a little bit with you. And I believe we've probably already talked about these a little bit, but one of the things, as coming from a coach and a trainer and that mindset is not effective sometimes because we want to jump in and, like you were saying, ask questions because I want to know, and even to ask, what can I do to help? And that's not effective, correct? We're not listening if we're jumping in. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. When we ask questions, what we do is we guide the discussion to what it is we want to know. And we have to ask ourselves, why? Why is what we want to know more important than what they want to share?
Yeah.
Why is our need for information more important than what they are willing to be vulnerable enough to gift us with? And when we recognize that some of that pause, people speak at different speeds. They may be deciding how much they can share. And when we tell them what we want to know, we take away their power to decide where they want to go.
Yeah.
And so now we're creating this helplessness where we're just trying to fix it. And the reason we're trying to fix it is really feeding our own need. Mm-hmm. Either we're problem solvers and we have all the answers, or we don't want them to hurt, so we just want them to feel better because it's awkward and uncomfortable. But really the best level of service we can give another person is to really be in tune, to be silent and let them go where this journey is taking them. And just simply saying, tell me what I can do to help you. And let them decide what that looks like and be okay with uncomfortable silence.
Yeah. I so get that. Whew. That was a very huge awareness for me. Thank you for underlining it even further. I can probably hear it way more often. Tell me a little bit about what you mean by servant leadership. Or tell me more, period.
So leadership is not a title. It's not a position. It's an opportunity to help someone else through our experiences, our skills, whatever it is that we have to offer. And so servant leadership means that what you need from me, if I have it, you have it. I'll go first and I'll go last. I'll open a door for you so that you can walk through it. I'm okay with not being in the limelight if that means that I can shine light on you. Servant leadership means being at the feet of a person. It means knowing the person that's cleaning your building, cleaning your house. It means knowing the teachers that spend 8 hours a day with your children and what it is that they're instilling in them, and then supporting them. Servant leadership doesn't mean that you don't exist in a space. It simply means that you understand that the very part of your existence is really how can you help another person get to the level that they're trying to get to.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, you actually redefined leadership, which was beautiful. But the servant part always got me stuck. And that makes beautiful sense. The other thing where I do get stuck, and I think we've also had this conversation, is around empathy. Because women tend to be very empathetic. And then what happens is we're sharing in the other person's pain. Or can you define that for us, please?
So there's sympathy, and then there's empathy. And in the class, we talk about it through the lens that Brene Brown does so fabulously well. But the primary difference is recognizing that people have feelings. And it's difficult sometimes for us to recognize those feelings and not take them on ourselves. So we don't always create some healthy boundaries. So sympathy means I feel sorry that you're in that space. Empathy is saying, wow, that must be hard to be in that space. Maybe I haven't experienced the loss of that particular loved one, but I can certainly understand what it's like to lose someone. It's the ability to recognize, even if you haven't lost anyone, that it's painful to lose someone. And recognizing that because someone is emotional, because someone is crying, doesn't mean we have to cry too. It doesn't mean we have to demonstrate that we're being empathetic. It's recognizing that maybe they just don't want to be alone in this room. And the best thing I can do is just create a safe space for them to vent, yell, whatever it is they need to do without judgment. It means that I don't have to judge what they should be feeling, what they should be doing, how they should see the situation. It means that I can sit back and say, I can certainly understand why they would see it that way. And I don't have to change the way they see it if I'm being empathetic. I can simply recognize that I can accept that they feel it that way, that they see it that way. And it's not about me understanding. Sometimes I'm just curious how it looks through their eyes. So it's just being with a person, and you don't have to take it on. Sometimes we don't set those safe boundaries. And so the person vents and they walk away feeling amazing because they just offloaded all that onto us. And now we feel like crap because we're like, man, now I'm sad or I'm ticked off at the person they were mad at. And now I'm ready to go fight the world. And now they're happy. They're skipping down the block. And here we are feeling horrible because we've taken that problem on. So the boundaries of empathy is just seeing that they're in a difficult space. We're in the space with them. We're walking with them, but we're not trying to fix the path for them.
Right. Huge difference in the expensive energy is how I describe it as well, is so that we're not giving them our energy. We're just opening our heart and walking with them. That's beautiful. It's a huge difference. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is in current affairs, just knowing your background, how are you showing up with empathy, with allowing things to be as they are, but also do you have any activism stance at all in you with all the Me Too stuff and everything that's going on in the military, not in in our Supreme Court justice nominee situation? I'm curious.
I'm a warrior.
Tell me about that.
I was born this way. I was born to advocate. I was born to fight for what's right. I was born to take a stand. And that is a part of who I am. What I recognize is there are different ways to fight those battles. And we all have different gifts and skills that allow us to succeed in different environments. Being a survivor myself, I had to recognize that even though I serve others, there's still a part of me that wanted justice for myself. And so I picked up the mantle to fight for my own case, which is almost 30 years old. And it is finally going to court this year. It has been a long journey since 2012 when I first picked up the phone and I called this particular police department in Texas and said, did you ever do your job? If not, let me help you. And here we are 6 years later, and I believe that case will finally go to trial before the end of this year. They have a scheduled date. But in between that time, I was tired, I was angry, I was alone, I was bitter. I wanted to be heard, I wanted to feel justice. I also needed peace because it had consumed me at some points of time. And so while I'm still a warrior, I recognize that in that I can help others. And so Houston, Texas had 6,600 untested sexual assault cases that year they processed. So it was worth a little bit of sacrifice so that others could go and be served. But recognizing not everybody is ready to sit in front of that judge or that perpetrator and walk through that experience. But the power of choice was my goal. They should have the choice whether or not they want to sit in that room. And so my goal was to create a pathway for that to happen. And if I went first or I went last, the point is I'm still in line. I still get my turn. And I'll use all of who I am to make that happen. Even if that means listening to the people, the police departments, the district attorneys. If I have to hear what it is that is in the way as a stumbling block, then I need to sit and hear that so I can be more effective.
Yes. Wow, that is huge. Congratulations. A huge part of me is like celebrating with you. And I know that's not even the point. The point is that you're moving with it and you're not letting it consume you.
I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I'm actually, that's a big deal. So the other thing I wanted to ask a little bit about is tell me about how did Our Community Listens come to be? I know you've been around for how long with this role?
I have been in this role for over 2 years now. And so the organization itself is obviously a little older than my involvement. And it started up in Phillips, Wisconsin, where there was this leadership course being taught to supervisors in Barry Waymiller, which is Bob Chapman is the CEO of Barry Waymiller Manufacturing. And so this communication skills course was being taught to their manufacturing employees after a sequence of events that profoundly impacted Bob's life and how he saw the world and his desire to create a sense of family at work, where people were not transactionally connected, but relationally connected. And so they began teaching this communication skills training course to their employees. And a few of those employees had some profound impacts at home, where they expressed in the book, Bob wrote a book, Everybody Matters. And in that book, it describes what was transforming the lives of those employees at home as well as work, which was a kind of a surprise that a class you take at work can help you be better at home. And so through that experience and people wanting their family members to have an opportunity to take the same class, Bob and his beautiful wife, Cynthia, said, okay, how can we offer this outside of the company and in the community for those family members? And that was back in 2012. And so here we are 6 years later, and we are now teaching this class in South Carolina, North Carolina, Colorado, Wisconsin, Michigan, the greater St. Louis area, Iowa, Scott Air Force Base, McGuire Air Force Base, and even Charleston Air Force Base, and a few others. And so those are just snippets. We have Pachamama Alliance, So we have several organizations around the world that have gotten the bug, got the light, they got the message, the I am the message, I can create change, I can be who I am, and I don't have to be perfect,
Right.
but I'm willing to try. And so it caught fire and it's turned into a movement. And so St. Louis was born out of the desire for Bob to bring it home. He is from Ferguson. And through a lot of what's happened in his community, he said it's time now to do it here, and do it in this community that I love. And so that is what brought me here. I was initially teaching it at Scott Air Force Base before I retired from active duty. And then I was given an opportunity to do it on a larger scale and to be able to lead the effort in St. Louis, in Illinois, in Burlington, Iowa, and through Scott Air Force Base and the Air Mobility Command, who happens to umbrella and lead several other locations. And so it's a movement. It's a powerful movement. And it's organically happening. But we're also strategic in how we partner with other organizations, how we can sustain the skills that we're teaching and not just have it a 3-day class. What's next? What can we do to teach people this gift and help them sustain this new way of living and leading? And that is our goal. That's
where I'm curious. I know that a lot's been shifting. I can see just in the short bit of time that I've known about you. And when I went through the course and we got what I really, really liked was there's like this 90 days after really intense journal of with daily exercises that don't take that long to do. And then you choose a partner to work with, an accountability partner. And what I have to say is if I wouldn't have had that, going in and learning that was brilliant. I learned some great tools, but how much of that really stays with you afterwards? And being a trainer myself, that's one of the most frustrating things is 6 weeks later, they're like, what was that thing? Because the notes go in a file drawer or in the wastebasket. And then you're back to kind of having a vague memory and maybe one thing stuck, but, out of the whole beautiful brilliance, only getting a little bit of it. What are some other follow-up activities for people who have gone through the 3 days? Are there going to be alumni, like booster shots or anything else like that? I'm just curious.
Absolutely. And so one, we as an organization recognize that people learn and live differently. So everyone has a need. And so recognizing that the 90-day journal that we give people to walk through after the class, that fills the need for some people that need to take notes, people that need that daily reminder, that 5 minutes of dedicated practice to reinforce what it is they've learned. The learning partner, as you mentioned, that's an accountability person. That's someone that needs another person to call them out with vulnerability and authenticity to really say, I think you could do better in this area. So the other thing is people need to be in a community where they feel like others get them. They want to reconnect with those that shared this experience with them. In the 3 days, it's a class, but it's really an experience.
It is.
And so what we do across many of the chapters, but what I do especially here in St. Louis is the alumni. And so we have alumni reunions for those that just want to reconnect, for those that just want to be around a group of people that get this life skill, this communication skill, and it's like the sixth sense. You're around other people that have had this sixth sense experience. And so that's just, it's a summertime opportunity to just reconnect, to grow together, to brainstorm what it is we're going to do together. This is the gateway to listening. This is not Pam King's chapter. This is the movement of people, and it's catching fire. We have people coming in from Ohio, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida. They're coming to St. Louis, to the gateway, to get this goodness. So how do we feed the hungry? So one of the things that we're doing is every year we do like an open house where we have our alumni bring a guest, bring someone that they think could use the skill, help us share the skill, partner with us to create this opportunity inside other organizations where we can now teach people to fish. I love that, you know, the teach a man to fish. I can't teach the number of classes that people need to be in. Mm-hmm. So how do we partner with other organizations to where we can have the class being offered in school districts and nonprofits like Big Brother, Big Sister? How do we have it at St. Vincent, Society of St. Vincent de Paul? Mm-hmm. How do we offer this in opportunities like Catholic Charities? How do we get this sustainable movement going? We do it by partnering. And so that's another opportunity where we can do continuous learning lunch and learns, which we'll have coming up for our alumni in November. So it's just a quick, easy, bring a brown bag lunch. Let's talk about what the struggle is. In those 3 days, we go through a lot of skills.
Yeah.
And it's like drinking from the fire hose if you feel like you need a makeover, right? So how do we take the makeover and maybe just fix a few things at a time? People are struggling in different phases. Not everybody needs to work on the behavioral tendency. Maybe they need to work a little bit more on how to confront effectively by checking your motive, by putting down the bat, by giving people an ultimatum. Maybe people need to work on the listening, tuning out the voices. So our lunch and learns are opportunities for small groups to get together to talk about real life experiences, the things that they struggle with the most in a larger group. And let's go real. Let's talk about this in real life application. Another thing I'll share with you, Deborah, is that we have podcasts happening in other chapters that we are now going to be sharing worldwide. And so you don't have to just do the podcast in St. Louis. St. Louis doesn't have to do all the podcasts and the blogs. We have other chapters that are leading these efforts in phenomenal ways. So we're going to share those resources across all our chapters. So it's not like you miss out on something because maybe you're in Colorado and the podcast is in Charleston. It's about creating a network of like-minded, change-oriented, transformational experiences that we all can glean and learn from. So I love being able to do this with you because it means that this conversation can be shared across all of our community listens, organizations, and locations.
Yes.
We don't have to be in every place. We can use all of our skills. You as an alumni, creating this opportunity. This is going to feed other alumni, new potential partners. So this is how we get the movement sustainable and growable. This is how we multiply.
I love it. I so love it. And I know that we had talked about getting into the city of St. Louis and with the police department and the fire department. And I know there's other civil servants like that have taken these courses and had beautiful results in their community. And if there's is there somebody that's keeping all of your statistics of success or success stories or compiling what change has happened as a result of these trainings?
Actually, we do have an initiative working on our outcomes. Part of our sustainment and growth plan is to be able to reach other funders and to be able to have other financial resources. Right now, through the generosity of the Chapman Family Foundation, that has sustained us for 6 years without the need to have additional donors. And I love their heart because they wanted us to focus on the work. They wanted us to stay true to the vision of what it is that we're trying to create without having to worry about changing who we are in order to satisfy or meet the needs of other donors. But recognizing that we have tremendous opportunity to grow larger, to do more work when we bring other communities to the table to invest in the goodness that we're doing. And we recognize that part of that is the need to be able to see this in writing, to see it in black and white. Yes. The numbers tell a story. And it's not anything to shy away from. It's an opportunity to embrace what we do and translate it into a language that others understand. And so we actually do have an impact and outcome initiative happening through the greatness of our Michigan chapter, who has tremendous resources and are leveraging their partnership and relationships that they have at the University of Michigan, where we have a program started and happening. And so through those partnerships, people are coming to the table and saying, thank you for the gift. How can I help? And we are able to say, here are the needs we have. How can you partner with us to help us get to the next level? And so I'm so glad you asked that question. And I can be able to say, yes, we're working on that impact and outcome so that we can speak this language through the numbers. Okay. So others can see it in that way. Okay. We also are looking at how can we do this through the schools, you know, different, either higher ed or even K through 12. There's different state requirements. There's different local requirements to be able to have these skills being offered as continuing education units or CEUs. How can we translate the impact we have to be able to give it to those that are consistently serving others? And so recognizing that what we do is phenomenal, but we have to translate the impact and the outcome in a way that other communities with more rigid requirements are able to bring us to the table.
I already have, my head is spinning. I've got so many ideas for you. So the other thing I want to ask in terms of I want to talk about how can somebody, I understand your new website's live.
Yes.
I've been waiting to send people to it. Rebecca asked me to. So I want to hear a little bit more about that, because I will put that in the written materials and I'll put it in the video caption as well to get more information go to. Would that be where would I send everybody?
You would send everyone to www.ourcommunitylistens.org.
Okay.
And on that website, they will see the national initiatives and the national movement. They will also see where it's catching fire in other states through community chapters. They will also see that there are private institutions or organizations that are also teaching the same exact skill inside of their organizations. And the example is like Scott Air Force Base. Scott Air Force Base is actually one of our long-standing programs. They are actually as old as the organization itself. They've been teaching this class for 6 years inside of Scott Air Force Base. Wow. Through General Johns, who was the Air Mobility Command commander at the time, going to see Bob speak after watching a TED Talk, getting that bug and saying, I want this for my airmen. And so Scott Air Force Base has what we consider to be private classes because they require base access and they try to give it in their sustainable community. And so we're doing it in public classes. There are private organizations offering these classes. And so on the website, you'll see this movement happening in so many different forms. But the wonderful thing is we're all moving on one accord. We're just serving our populations of people in different ways.
That is so beautiful. I had no idea that they'd been doing that for 6 years. The other piece is, I know that you said that the rest of 2018 is full and that this is a commitment of time, and that, you know, you're selective on who gets into each of the classes, because don't you limit the size?
Absolutely. And so the class is about 18, no more than 21 people. It's an intimate experience with just enough people in the room with diverse backgrounds, experiences. They are working in different fields and different organizations. And so we're pretty intentional about creating an environment that reflects the views of the world around us. And so because it is such a small group, only 18 to 21 people can be in one class at a time. We are pretty selective, and so we review those class applications very intentionally. And so we look at the thoroughness of an application. We look at, is this person being required or encouraged by a supervisor or a workplace to be in the class? And that's fine as long as they want to be there. That's the first thing that we're looking for. Is this class is not a class like any other class. Participant after participant has said it is an experience. And so we keep that pretty sacred. And so we want people to want to be in the class. Excellent. You have to want change to experience change. Otherwise, it's just another class. Mm-hmm. And so they have to be willing to invest. It is 3 days. We're looking to offer that same experience in different ways. Maybe one class a week for 3 weeks, or 2 days 1 week and 1 day the other. We're looking at those opportunities and we're testing it in other communities. But right now in the St. Louis area, it is 3 solid days of commitment. It is, an 8 to 4:30 commitment where we're asking people to be fully present. And so with that, we ask people to honor and respect that if they get selected to be in the class, that they don't cancel at the last minute, because that took an opportunity away from someone else to fill that seat and experience that change, and to respect and honor the gift. And right now, this gift is being offered at no cost to the individual. It is completely sponsored by the Chapman Family Foundation. And that class seat can range in value up to $1,500 per person, based on everything that we provide every participant. And so with that, we are extremely selective about each seat that we fill. And so with that, yes, for those that are just now hearing about the class, the October and the December class does have a wait list, but that just means that we need to offer more classes in 2019.
Yes.
We are doing so. We will be offering up to 8 classes in 2019 in St. Louis. We will be offering 4 classes in the Metro East in Illinois. Scott Air Force Base will be offering 10 classes to their community partners, and we'll be looking to see what else can we do to build partnerships in other organizations where they say we need to bring this inside. We want to bring this in-house. And so there's a few organizations, I won't put them out there right now, but we have quite a few organizations I have a list now of those to say, okay, we get it, we need it. How can we do this sustainably with you? And so with that, just know that next year we will offer more classes, and hopefully there will be a wait list.
That would be awesome.
Want the gift.
And is there a plans, I'm sure, to offer a train the trainer, so that you can train like the in-house trainers in corporate environments, or the additional community trainers to offer more classes? Do you have anything like that?
Right now, I have 6 facilitators graduating from their facilitator training. They will be graduating at the end of October and preparing to lead their first classes in 2019.
Yay!
So I am super excited.
You used to do them yourself, didn't you?
Yes, I have been teaching almost every class, leading the way, and excited to do so. But I certainly recognize I cannot do it alone. And so Bill Ellis has been walking alongside me. He is my other St. Louis facilitator, and leading this change based on the demand we had over the summer. Just this past summer, we ran simultaneous classes June and July, and I had to bring in facilitators from other chapters just to meet that growth demand. And so recognizing that we needed more hands to lighten the load. And so next year, as our growth continues, as more partners come to the table and organizations want this in-house for themselves, we will be extending the invitation for more facilitators to join us in offering this class so we can grow. And most importantly, not just grow, but sustain. So we can go deeper, not just teach more classes, but offer more continuous learning sessions for those that have already taken the class. Right. So it's not just growing wide, it's the ability to go deep, to be able to grow those skills, to hone those skills, to sustain those skills as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. I have one last question, and it's not like it's the least important, but I would love to know how you, as a mother and a wife and a very involved community member and professional, tell me how you balance all of that. I know you have how many children?
I have 5 total, 5 boys, but only 2 in the house. I only have 2 here.
No, that doesn't matter. I have 9 are out of the house and they still need me. So
yeah, I try to be as intentional as possible, as purposeful as possible. I have the same 24 hours in a day as you do, as everyone else does. And so I really try to look at what's on my plate, who can I serve well, how best can I serve them, and do I have to do it alone? And so I will reflect and say, is this something I have to do, or is this something someone can help me do? And I look at, what is it that I alone have to do? I'm leading this chapter. And so in that, I recognize I still serve my community through my church, through pastoral care. And that pulls on me. My family, my boys, my 13 and 14-year-olds still need me to check homework at night, and so I have to really minimize those evening obligations so I don't give my family my leftovers.
Right.
And I have a tendency to go, to do, to answer the call of the many. But I have to really self-examine and really take a look and listen to my family when they ask me to be present. I have to really set expectations and expectation management for who I serve, how well I serve them, and being intentional by saying no sometimes. It's not my natural to say no, because I want to know that I'm goal-oriented, I can accomplish anything. But I have to say, can I do this well if I say yes?
Okay.
And that is maybe it's not a no, but not now.
Okay. And sounds like there's an almost an awareness of how important it is to serve you too. And that's the biggest thing, is being a servant leader as you are. I just am like, where do you find time to serve you?
That's a work in progress. It's a work in progress, because Thursdays are my favorite days. And so Thursdays, I try to do things that feed me and are fun for me, where it's not as rigid. Maybe it's a little bit more fluid. And so, I do stick by a schedule because I respect time and we can't get that back. And so there are days of the week where I just try to be more fluid and not so rigid, where I can be in my own space, where I can grow. I'm a lover of learning. And so for me, I love the opportunity to connect and grow and learn with others. So I look for ways to feed that without taking away from the other obligations and responsibilities that I have. I will also tell you that one of the things that I have to live within is my energy. I am best at this time of day, and I know about 3 o'clock I'm gonna start falling off. So I don't take on difficult things at the end of the day.
Well, that's good awareness.
It's an awareness. I know if you want the best out of me, you need to catch me like right before lunch, not long after. Otherwise, it might fall to the next day, because I just know it might get done, just not to my best ability. So I have to recognize my energy levels and really operate and be mindful of those.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I think that's a perfect place for us to end, because I think that we must honor ourselves and must be aware of how we can give our best self out, but and where and how do we replenish and nourish and take care of this so that we can be that light out there. So you are brilliant. You're such an amazing, you energize me just by everything that you're doing and the huge mantle that you are wearing and leading with. So thank you for taking the time to do this. And I will look forward to hopefully seeing you again in the community soon.
You will see me. I will be there. Just come.
Okay.
And if I can also say thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, and take good care. And I cannot wait to see what you guys cook up in 2019.
We're cooking.
Yeah, I know. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.